Just don't forget to press record. That's my biggest fear.
Uh,
I've done it.
I have it the record pressed. We are live right now, and
Okay,
I
good.
here we go. Here's the intro. Okay, let's try that again.
Cool intro.
And thank you. Welcome everyone to another exciting adventure on Riding Through the Unknown. I'm your host Michael, and tonight's guest, many of you probably recognize from being on previous this year, and
Mhm,
so I can say I am truly honored and blessed to have her back on.
mhm.
She is a wonderful source of information and a truly great friend. We've been having a great chat in the background, so I know you guys are in for a treat tonight. We're not 100% sure where we're going tonight, but we are definitely going into new grounds. So, without further ado, I am going to stop rambling and acting like I'm God-smacked right now over my guest, and I'm going to turn it over to the one, the only experienced author extraordinaire, Jane Celia Hatch.
Ta-da. Where do you want me to go, Michael? Just an intro or just dig right into soul retrieval and soul
Well,
fragments and
since you've been on before, I think, people may want just a tidbit of a refresher
okay.
of who,
Yeah,
or
I am a survivor of the secret space program and the CIA's MKUltra mind control. And I'm also a targeted individual, which really are all tied together. In my research, I'm finding most targeted individuals were actually secret space program, and it's sort of the aftercare to keep us traumatized. I'm a former journalist, still a journalist, a writer, and a survivor of family court, and a shamanic healer. I've been studying shamanism for at least 30 years. I think you're sort of born one, and a Reiki healer, and a mother of three, and an herbalist. So that about sums it up to a degree. And
so
under
thank
each
you for
one,
that.
hmm?
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're
So
very welcome.
we were talking backstage about soul retrieval, and you have an interesting take on it.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give you the floor to share what we were talking about and maybe probably even more.
Yeah. Okay. So my experience with soul retrieval began in the 80s when I had gone through family court and I was feeling shattered and disassociated, not in my body. And I never went to Western medical professionals. I was always inclined towards shamanism and Reiki. And So I found this lady shaman on a mountain in Maine, and she started to work with me. And she said I had fragments all over the place from family court and from childhood. Basically, when there's trauma, a piece of you can leave, a soul fragment can leave and go someplace else in the universe that it feels safer. And that's called a soul loss. And so she returned in shamanism. They use power animals, spirit guides, and they travel into the different dimensions to bring back the soul parts. And she blows them back in, through my heart and through my chakra, my head chakra. And then because eventually you've heard of the expression, they're only half there. War veterans, PTSD, that's a lot of that is soul loss. They don't have a name for it in Western medicine. They just start medicating you, but you've actually had tremendous soul loss. A piece of your soul during trauma leaves your body and just travels. It may go back to the site of the trauma, or it can go to a place that it feels comfortable. Did you have a question yet?
Well, actually, I was just thinking as you were explaining that there are times where, we get called to certain places, and I'm wondering if that is the piece that broke off in trauma now ready to return, is saying, hey, here I am. And I'm curious
Yes.
along those lines too, is we always feel like we have to physically step foot to reclaim our soul fragments.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true, or can we do it through astral plane and dream travel and retrieve them that way?
In fact, that's the only way that I know of to retrieve soul is traveling through the astral plane, because it's a spiritual process. And you're absolutely true that we do go in search of our souls. And this is a really interesting point. Often our ex-partners will have a piece of our soul, and it's one of the and they may have either consciously or subconsciously taken a piece of us, and it's one of the reasons we continually try to return to these old relationships, is they actually have captured a piece of our souls.
That's interesting because
Mm.
I have heard talks of when we are in relationships, it's the person that we're with has a resonance or frequency that we're needing. And once we get it from them, if, there's more to it, then the relationship holds. But if you just get what you needed and that's all the relationship was for, that's why all of a suddenly you wake up and you're like, huh, I guess, this relationship ran its course and I don't know why I'm with this person anymore. And you start to wonder what happened. Yesterday I was all infatuated and today I'm like, eh. And so is that what you kind of, in line with what you're saying, is, you reclaim the soul fragment, so now you're done with that person?
That's possible. I mean, there's many, intricacies in relationships, and reasons we're attracted and reasons where, we part. But it's possible that you could have reclaimed your soul. Generally, it's kind of a process, but I think it can happen sort of out of the blue. You can reclaim your soul, but generally, like when I began to learn, I started to go to teachers all over the country to learn, soul retrieval, depossession, psychopumping, all the shamanic. And generally, when you do a soul retrieval, the shaman is sort of the hollow bone, and then you call in all your helpers and you travel with them. And generally, in shamanism, it can be power animals, spirit guides, ancestors, loving and compassionate. I always say the loving and compassionate beings, because if you say just the light, there's a lot of beings that think they're the light, like Lucifer. So be very careful. Any ceremony you do, whether you're meditating, you're calling in love. That love on the spirit level is unquestionable. A spirit can't pretend to be love if they're not. They can pretend to be light because they think they are. And so you travel with those beings and you put out the intention. I'm on a journey to find the soul of, let's say, Michael, and to bring it back if it's in his highest and best interest. And so then you go with your spirit guides, and you journey through the web of life, and they're directing you. And then you'll see ahead, or something will direct you, and I'll see maybe little Michael is 5 years old. He's on a swing because he left his body when his mother got hit by his father. That's enough to cause soul loss. And so then I negotiate with the soul, hi, I say who I am and what my intention is. And souls right away can tell if you're malevolent or benevolent. And children usually respond really quickly to me. And I say, Michael really needs you. He needs his inner child. And then I hold out a crystal and ask him if he'll come back with me in the crystal. And, generally they do. Sometimes I give them a toy, or there's a little bit of negotiation sometimes, because they left because it was trauma. They don't necessarily want to run back and jump in that body if there's still the same situation. So sometimes I explain, it's safe now. It's okay. Michael will take care of you. And then they will often, because they want to go home. We all want to go home. They go into the crystal, and then I turn and I have an actual crystal in my hand, and in the journey I'm holding out a metaphysical one. And then we journey back, and then I blow the soul in through the heart and the head, and then drum around it. And that's generally how a soul retrieval works, which is different than soul fragments we get from torture. They're different. And because the soul is always part of the being, the absolute essence. But the fragments are not necessarily the same being. They've been fragmented into different personalities. So it's a different process. I was working with my daughter with a fragment that was really angry. And I never thought once of doing a soul retrieval because it just wasn't appropriate. Because it was a part that was protecting her. She was very kind of violently protecting my daughter. And so it's a whole different process that I'm learning about, because my 30, 40 years of learning about shamanism, nobody knew about secret space program or altars, or no one talked about it. I mean, maybe the shamans did 100 years ago. I don't know. But so it's a new term for me in the last 5 years that is altars. And I'm sure I have them.
I agree, and I have questions around that, but Terry made a comment in the chat room, and I'm going to kind of turn it into a question for you, Terry, and that is, she's asking, I'm still wrapping my head around the fact that my soul can shatter and pieces taken. So what advice do you have, or how do you talk to someone who, as we try to explain that and explain what, how that works, because that is, a really hard topic, I think, to explain to someone who doesn't know if they've experienced it or hasn't experienced it.
Yeah, first I would say that your soul doesn't shatter. What happens is, and it's an adaptive strategy for survival. A piece of your consciousness called a subsoul leaves your body to survive the trauma, like even a car accident. If it was too much for your soul, your spirit to handle, it'll send a piece of you. I'm not saying that I don't think a soul shatters. It can become fragmented. And then you become less. Hi, Poppy. You become less and less powerful as you have more trauma. Somebody that's been through war, divorce, rape, they lose more and more pieces of themselves potentially. And then once you have a lot of soul loss, you also are really open to addiction because you're feeling less and less alive. So you want to drink. Hi, Poppy. I sound like I'm 5.
Totally fine, but
so it doesn't shatter, and it's always working to come home too. It's an adaptive survival strategy. until you're in a place where all your pieces can come home.
And so, in that regard, there are times when I'm sure this has happened to you and to maybe Poppy and Terry as well. Is you're driving along and all of a sudden you get this urge to pull over and go check out something else. And you're like, well, I really got to get going to get to this place, but I'm really being drawn over here. Could that be like an alter aspect fragment that is saying, hey, here I am, since you're here, hey, want to try and reconnect or, grab attention to it? Or could it be, just another soul fragment piece that we just didn't know was splintered off and is saying, hey, since you're here, I'm here, let's connect?
Like a date. Not necessarily. I mean, being pulled to a location, an area, a situation, it can be, you have to be really careful because you can be following a curse too. If you're like, I think I'll stop here and walk into that cave, it can, and they can make it feel like it's a good thing too. That's one of the devious parts of a curse. It doesn't feel bad. It feels like you're it's exciting in a way. So you can be being called towards a trap. And certainly I've had numerous curses, which unfortunately I fell into more than once. So, and my book will tell you the biggest, worst curse happened. So, and I thought it was very exciting what I was doing. It was like, and I thought I was fulfilling a dream. Like they know you so well. Like, believe it or not, it was an herb class in rural Maine that was tied in with me meeting a demon. But they use the herb class because they know what you like and law and what you'll do. Like, they couldn't get me with money or, press, any of those things, but they knew how to get me, and it was an herbal class. So you can be pulled to things for different reasons, but generally you can tell in your gut. Like I was ignoring my gut. Like I ignored my gut instinct. So you're not completely helpless if you start going in a direction and you have a gut instinct not to. I don't know about if you're an altar is there somewhere, or there's many reasons that you can be pulled emotionally.
Right. I was just curious because, as we find out, we have altars operating all around. And, we talk about rich, a lot of people are saying that, the catchphrase of, oh, go integrate your altar.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm like, well, one, how do you know where your altar is? And two, how do you know it's time to integrate that
Mm-hmm.
altar? Or, and what happens to that altar when you do integrate it? Does its life cease and everybody that was attached to that cease, or do they go on? There's like multiple questions I have around that
Yeah.
aspect.
And we're getting on to a different but similar subject. Altars, like soul, when I'm talking about soul retrieval, they never take a physical body. They're still in the spiritual. Whereas the altars we know now can be put into clones. And yes, I do believe like if you take that altar back, that being ceases to exist. And as does their situation. And I think it's a very tricky thing if that altar is incarnate. I was able to get an altar back from a cyborg, but it was at the point of death. Like it called out to me. Um, I didn't know I was in a cyborg, but I was brought to it. It like called out to me. It was like an accident in the space, and I was able to go and retrieve it. That was like a year ago. And I was shown yesterday other altars I have I'm not sure. They might actually still be out there if fully embodied. And that's different than soul retrieval, retrieving an altar. Especially if they put them in a clone, they're living a life, they're your consciousness. And, if you take that, you take the life of it's tricky. Um, it's a tricky situation.
I agree. And so I wonder, it does beg the question of, do we have the right, because it is us,
Yeah.
to take it back, but
Yeah.
at the same time, do we have the right to rob it of its life? And so that's an interesting quandary.
Yeah, it is. I know John Whitberg has talked about that quite a bit too, that if he took back his altar, he wasn't ready because it would end their lives. And yeah, it's tricky and it's brand new information to me, like within the last 5 years. And it's a whole different realm than the soul retrieval because the souls are not incarnate. You're bringing back yourself, and into your body, but the altars have other lives they're living. So hopefully they'll stop shattering our minds so we stop creating altars in the future and we don't have to worry about how we do this, how we reintegrate with those parts. Yeah, I just I won't tell the whole thing, but I did uh was recently very triggered by, and I don't know if he's watching or not, but somebody that was very nice to offer me storage in Maine, but it had been a place where there was hundreds of thousands of Nazi memorabilia collected, like $900,000, everything, the uniforms, everything. And he had died, but and then the wife sold it all, but it had been in the barn, and that's where my stuff was going to be. And I'm like, what's the chances of this happening to me? I mean, this has got to, and I knew I'd had Nazi and German abductors. And so I did a journey last night. I'm not going to tell like this, like, because some of it involves like Hitler. So I'm not going to go into that right now. I think I actually saw from this journey that he might have been one of my programmers when I was 4. But I did see, I was buried underground. I was about 4, and I saw like about 5 altars created from that trauma. And then they showed me like there was one that became another cyborg. It looking like the super soldiers, everybody, does the AI. It looked like that, but it didn't seem like I was going to war. I saw that I was going on some mission about crystals, like mining maybe. And then another one I saw, I was a spy. She was like a honeypot spy. I was giving information to the Germans. I've been used as a like courier honeypot. I think infiltrating the Americans. I had this feeling I was safer with the Germans, as this altar felt like she was very much more attached to the Germans than the Americans. And then there was another altar that seemed like she was a navigator for them. Yeah, so I saw about 4 just recently created by, I believe it was the Nazis. And I felt like I wasn't afraid of them. It was weird. Maybe because I was under complete mind control and, and I was looking at it in remote view. I wasn't afraid of them, but I was very afraid when I heard about the memorabilia. So I think I was shown recently some milder aspects of the abduction, because I didn't feel afraid of even Hitler, who was in this recall. So anyway, that I'm touching on a huge subject with just a little bit of information, but I created many altars from being buried in this deep underground. I think it was in America. and like you're so traumatized, they created, and then they use those, the Nazis used them all for different, and so they're still out there. I think if I took them back, I don't even know if I could, unless it was the point of death, or um I don't know who's watching. I mean, should we explain how altars are created? I mean, I know Poppy knows, more than I do. I don't know what kind of audience you have right now. A lot of people would just do not need to um, be explained how altars are created.
Well, if it's not going to trigger, then maybe, a brief look at it. I mean, we don't have to go into every detail, but
Yeah,
'cause I feel like there's curiosity to it. And
yeah,
I feel like there are people who, may be a part of this, but they don't know yet. And so
yeah,
learning this may help,
hmm,
guide them to who, and what they have been a part of.
yeah. Well, as briefly as I can explain it, it was a so-called science that was just about perfected in the concentration camps. You are, Poppy? Okay, that's good. I learned a lot from you too. They learned how to begin to shatter the mind of children, especially certain bloodline children, and they did that by through sexual rape, trauma, electrocution, and the extreme abuse of opposites. Like they would take soldiers, and one day they would be freezing them almost to death, and then they would bring them in and heat them to almost to death. And that was another way to create altars, is extreme opposites. So they took, and this was MKUltra mind control that they were perfecting in the concentration camps. And then at the close of the war, they brought all that information to America with Operation Paperclip, and the CIA, and the presidencies, and they all collaborated with this Nazi information to continue to abduct and to mind shatter children so that they could create these altars. It's a form of preserving your sanity, that you create altars that can handle that amount of trauma. And so it went on steroids when after Operation Paperclip. I think there was started out with, they were able to abduct 50,000 children a year. Then it went up to 100,000, and they're still abducting them. And this was agreed upon by our military and our political leaders at that time. Laura Eisenhower says it isn't her father. A lot of us think it was Eisenhower that had worked with the ETs and the Germans, but she says absolutely not. So around that time, like when I was born, 1956, I was born. So Operation Paperclip was already, in full swing. So I was probably one of the most, earliest abductees into the program. So what it does, so and then they use those altars, because you sort of become like a superhuman, to open portals. They wanted to advance the time travel. After the USS Eldridge fiasco, remember they tried to transport the ship, and it was like a complete disaster, that the men got stuck inside the frame, and it was like and so they were on hyperdrive to understand time travel better and cloaking, and so they were using all of us children, our alters, who they kind of made into superhumans, to advance the military, is the best I can explain it. Right. In short, it was a result of the Nazis coming to America and being placed in leadership positions in almost every system we have.
Yeah, and I agree. And that is a great way to kind of be like, here's your starting point. Now, go do your own research,
Yeah.
because that is the one thing I will say about, this type of material and experiences we're talking about is, I can't say enough. Like, we can't go to a building, or go on the internet and say, hey, here's my name, tell me what I was a part of, because there is no digital footprint. There is no, I mean, there's a paper trail, but it's, very limited to who has access to it.
Hmm.
And so it's not something we can easily, get a hold of documents to say, hey, here's the proof that I was this, this, and this, and in
Yep.
this and this. And so that is where we say, you have to do your own homework, because you have to go listen to stories and experiences, find the ones that resonate to you, and, that may trigger memories to unlock. But don't just take what somebody says and say,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that was me, because it may not have been. And I've talked with like Tony Rodriguez and saying, I don't know why anybody would want to claim going through what we
I
went
know it.
through, because there's no glory, there's no medals, there's no pension, there's like no benefit other than knowing this was real and that this did happen.
Yeah. And generally you become targeted if you're SSP, and so you spend a life trying to navigate, a whole, chapter two of torture, whether it's directed energy weapons or gang stalking and cyber hacking. So, and you're only making your in a way making yourself very vulnerable, of course, to the different systems that might want to call you crazy, or so there's no glory in it. I mean, there should be. Some of us should get medals and recognition, but I
Could
don't
you
know.
imagine our service jackets operating on this planet, this planet, this
Yeah,
planet, this colony here, off, off world service, space, on ship, off ship. It's like, man, I don't think they would have enough medals or ribbons to go through everything that we've gone through, because one thing that people, it's going to be, I think, in all honesty, the hardest thing I feel like of our stories that other people will hear, is that they have the technology of, if we get injured to the point like I lose an arm,
Hmm.
they will regenerate that arm and
Hmm.
I am back in service. They're, missing limbs doesn't get you out. Having your body blown up by something, they'll put you back in and they'll get you a new body. And so it's like this technology they utilize, and that to me is when that comes public, that they have that ability. Everybody that's on this planet that's like, wait, you mean I don't have to have this missing limb, or I can be restored to what I was beforehand, and you've been denying that to me,
Hmm.
is going to be, to me, the biggest outrage. What do
Yeah,
you think?
I think about that all the time. Teeth, everything can be regenerated. They're making us live like the era of Flintstones. We are so, like, there's so much capability. They just make us suffer down there. They have all the technology to restore us. They could even restore youth. Anything. In a med bed, or they can restore you, and they're just hiding it all. Yes, Poppy. Yeah.
Yes, and so there actually is some questions, and I'm going to get to those now. I just wanted to clarify that little aspect before asking
Mhm.
these. And Poppy is actually asking, don't we lose energy to those altars that got split off into other beings?
That's a really good question. I don't feel it. I mean, I feel loss of energy with soul loss, but I don't necessarily feel like I have a lot of energy loss through my altars for some reason. But if, multiple soul loss, yes. you're practically crawling if you've lost too much of your soul. But that's a really good question.
That is because I'll be honest, is there are times that I'll just like I'll blink and I'll be like, oh wait, I got new thoughts coming in of things, and it's like, where did
Mm.
these come from? And somebody's like, oh, an altar returned, and so it's downloading the memories, and you just got glimpses. So it's like we don't even know when we're off. And I've even been on a show one time where Christy Campbell was in the audience, and I'm like, I'm looking, and it's like I'm registering everything, but all of a sudden I see Christy going, "Oh look, Michael just did a 20 and back," and I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, I didn't even realize I had disappeared that long, to even give the appearance of, and so I was like, man, if it's that fast, yeah, I don't know that we would ever feel when it happens.
Yeah, that 20 and back was mind blowing. I mean, that technology that can take you and you're gone for 20 seconds. I mean, you're gone for like 20 years, but it's 20 seconds in this timeline. And they brought you back to the age you were. I mean, people will like to try to explain that to ordinary person. They just, it's beyond, beyond comprehension.
It is, and Terry is asking, do you think that since people are looking for connection, they can be led unknowingly into another system of control, like religion or even love and light spirituality that seems helpful?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because, like, if you're looking for something outside of yourself, it's sort of a hole in your energy field. And so, the universe doesn't like a vacuum, they're going to fill it up. And it can, it can be with good, but it can also be with evil.
It is, and one of the things too about 20 and backs that people don't realize is, and this is going to sound completely strange to people, but for example, Jane and I can be on the same ship, but if Jane is on the bridge crew and I'm doing diplomatic or soldiering, super soldiering, our paths will never cross.
Mm,
I don't get to go on the bridge and go, hey, what's going on? Where are we going? Somebody
mm,
comes to us and tells us what's going on, or we just know and we just, operate. So our paths never cross. And to me, the saddest thing that I feel like of that is, when you have like Tony talks about being on the janitorial staff of a ship,
yeah.
not getting to, even the upper, kind of like normal crew. He was like, nope, that we could walk right past him and we would not give him the time of day because we are told when you're on ship, you only talk to your class, your
Hmm.
group. You do not associate with others. And it's everywhere we go. We are sectioned off and isolated. So that is something that people don't understand because, you think, oh, if we're, say Jane and I are both super soldiers and we're on the same ship, if we had different missions, we're not going to talk. Even
Hmm.
though we're super soldiers, we're not going to be like, oh, hey, great to see, glad you're on this one. Nope. And that is something I think people, have a hard time with because our military, everybody talks to everybody. But the SSP, that is not our military. And that's something I think that needs to be clarified. It operates through the military, but it's not the military.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with maintaining the mind control. not talking to each other. It brought to mind, I'm writing this book that involves Princess Diana and Elizabeth Wallace. Elizabeth Wallace is like the bloodline daughter of Queen Elizabeth, who was also put through the program. She became a sex slave for the royal family. And to be honest, and this is kind of revealing what's going on in my book, is Princess Diana was used as well. And they would be both brought to a ritual separately with bodyguards, like say the Vatican was doing set, and they were called to that. The bodyguards would be all around them. They could not talk to each other, but they learned like hand signals, like little things. And part of that is once we start to share our knowledge and our memories and just our love, I think it threatens mind control. It starts to threaten the mind control.
I agree, because once we, if I have a feeling like, oh, I've operated in space, I can easily be manipulated on my own to say, oh, that's because I've seen it on TV. That,
Yeah.
I'm just imagining, what it's like, on this TV show. And I'll just let it go. But if like you came up and I
Yeah.
watch you and you say, hey, I operated in space, and I'm like, wait a minute, she has a similar experience that I have. She didn't watch the shows that I watched. Wait, maybe there's something to this, and it triggers and it breaks the memory control, I think.
Yeah, and we have, we all have a spark of God in us, and we can see that in each other. And then, I don't think they like that either. And there's love or camaraderie or something that can break the spell slowly. I'm sure it wouldn't be one conversation. I remember Penny Bradley saying for 20 years she went from the deck to her room. Like there was one like smelly alien next to her who was her co-pilot. Like, do you remember that story?
Yeah,
Like,
I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah. I don't know what it was. It was she had a co-pilot that was like an alien that really smelled really badly, but like they were in the same level, and so they had to. Maybe they shared an area, but like all she could do was go from the deck to her room. I don't know if she did that for 20 years, but total isolation.
Yeah.
I mean, I
And
guess you ate together, but I don't even know if you talked.
yeah, and I mean, I feel kind of bad a little bit because I have a friend, and I don't know if you know her, Sophie, who is really trying to connect with people who were stationed at the same place as her to help remember things. And I'm like, and she'll always ask me, do you remember now? Do you remember me? And I'm like, well, I remember being on that station that you're talking about,
Yeah.
but I don't remember you. And it's because different class of group on the ship or station, so to speak. And so I feel bad because I feel like I should remember. And she'll tell me, her funny story. And I'm like, well, I think, I remember hearing about that, because it's people gossip, and, that you'll hear, but you never know who it is. And so it's like, oh, that's you. Okay. But again, it kind of sucks the way they compartmentalized us, that I can't go and say to her, oh, yeah, I was on this deck, and we were doing this. And, did you ever make it up to this deck? It's like, I know for a fact that I don't remember her.
Yeah.
She's not going to remember me. And so nothing I say will make sense to her because she was probably in a different level. And so that's the frustrating part that they
Yeah.
make for us.
Um,
And
I was just thinking about John Whitberg's book, Periwinkle Eyes, and on their missions, they were very interactive. I don't know if you've read any of his books. It's a series about one of his altars. What was his name? Anyway,
yeah,
they
the
interact a
periwinkle man.
lot. Yeah, the man with the periwinkle eyes is one of his altars, and their missions on Mars. I mean, all over the place for Eneman. They seemed like there was a lot of interaction. So I don't know how, if it was just on ship you didn't interact, and once you got onto a planet or on a mission and you had to work as a team, maybe that was it. If you had to work as a team to accomplish something, of course you're going to have to interact. Maybe that was the difference.
I think so, because JP, he, is always talking about, being with different groups of people, and, they all kind of somewhat talked, but didn't really talk. And so it's kind of like he's like an in between John and us kind of deal. And I think it has to do with who taps you. And he was doing it through military, and so they were, operating a certain way. And so I imagine if it's ET, they have their own protocols. And so that may
Yeah.
be why some are more open and some are more compartmentalized. And so Terry is asking too, so you don't have to be abducted to be traumatized and then used later by the SSP.
So
You
you
know,
don't.
and that's the reason I asked this is because the term abduction has so many different meanings now,
Yeah.
and so a lot of people confuse when we say, "Oh, we were taken to doing this and this and the programs." They're like, "Oh, so you were abducted like somebody on a UFO," and I'm like, "No, that's not that type of abduction." And so,
Yeah, that, like, for me, my father, I believe, was manipulated by Raytheon executives to think I was just going into some gifted science. And so they manipulated him into signing me over. But that's an abduction. I disappeared, on and off. And I wasn't taken by two grays into a UFO. I was taken by, the Raytheon, which is a Nazi, but Vannevar Bush was a German who started Raytheon. So that's still an abduction if you've been manipulated, if your parents have been manipulated into signing you over. It's an abduction. So you're right, we use it in many different ways and not always the classical. In fact, I don't know a lot of people that were just taken in a spaceship. I think they were taken, like Penny was taken into Langley, in a van in the middle of the night. That's an abduction, taken out of her house, put her in a van across the country to Virginia, where she was used abused in science labs or science in the cellar, and doing MKUltra. So there's many ways to abduct. And that's sort of a real abduction if the van shows up and takes you out of your bedroom. But it wasn't ETs, it was the military.
right. And
Um,
pop, oh, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
No, I was just trying to think of her question. Do you have to be abducted? Okay, can you not be abducted and be in the SSP? There's probably, yes. Probably there's some way they do that.
Well, there are some, that think when we're born, we get
Yeah,
tapped. And, and so there we're not abducted. We just are taken out of the hospital room and then put back in the room. Just nobody knows what happened. And it can be like you're saying, you were missing for a minute. Well, they may not have used you on a mission at that point, but they took what they needed from you so that they can make the clones. And
right.
therefore, you are being used. You just didn't have the whole abduction scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember most of the first 11 years of my life, but I've been actually talking to friends lately in Hanover, Mass, where the abduction first took place. And they're like, remember we had the dog shows, Jane, and remember we did this, and remember we did that. And I'd be like, some of them vaguely, but it was almost like they had my consciousness within the program and somebody else was in my body because I was physically there. You know, my friends were seeing me from back then, but I've even had that lately. Like, I think I was not lately, like I was 25. This is just I don't know what this means, but I was like with a boyfriend on a beach in Maine, and apparently this wild horse came up, and I got on it and rode away. And he asked me like a year ago, "Do you remember? Don't you remember that, Jane?" I'm like, "No, I have no memory." So it's almost like they didn't take me, but maybe they erase good memories too, just so you always have bad memories. Like that would be like the coolest memory. Who would forget that? Like a horse runs up to you on a beach and you get on the horse and run away, like especially since I love horses. So it's almost like I don't think I was abducted in that moment, but maybe they erased it. I think they erased everything about my mother. Anything that gives me joy, I think they try to erase. And I'm getting a little bit off topic, but
Well, and I wonder though, like you're saying, with the beach, and the boyfriend experience, if there's something that they feel may trigger you to a memory, they may
hmm,
erase it for that reason. And it's not because it brings you joy, in my opinion. It's because it could trigger, like you may have operated that near there or there. And so they're like, oh, if she remembers this, she'll remember this, and we can't have that. So they wipe the memory of it. And they try to wipe memories of everything that could be a clue, because it would explain why, like, one day we can be doing something and the next day we're like, I have no idea what I did yesterday. It's, and and I'm not talking about like being like in your 60s, 70s, 80s, dementia, kicking in. I'm
no,
talking
it's
like
different.
teenagers, young adults, adults. And it's like all of a suddenly it's like you have perfect recall of an entire week, but one day.
Hmm.
Well, I don't think that one day you were operating all day. And so they're like, nope, we're wiping it. I think where you were operating, there's an area so well that they're going to be like, wait a minute, this all is going to trigger him. So we got to wipe it all. Just my feeling.
Hmm.
But with that being said, Poppy has a interesting question for you too. And she says, did you feel trance like in the 20 and back, like controlled to the core, just trying to reconcile what I feel?
I haven't yet explored my 20 and back. If I've had it, I think I have, but I haven't recalled that exact. It's probably what happened. You know, all that time for the first 10 years of my life, I have no memories of my childhood. That was probably it. But I can't say that I can totally understand what, that question.
Yeah. And Poppy is saying a cover story, perhaps, to cover what really happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Terry is saying memory erase makes sense. I have big chunks of childhood gone. Many siblings and I remember things very differently. I have that
Yeah.
as well. And
Me too.
I have a question that I have a dear friend that always likes to ask me about handlers, and I, can only share so much of what I recall and everything. And I wonder if at times, we say like family members can become handlers.
Hmm.
Well, I had an experience that was odd with one family member, and so I wonder if a handler was put in to my family member, then they used her, and then took the handler out and she went on with her life. Because the conversation that we had, now looking back at it, makes totally no sense. And she was asking me one day, "What are you reading?" And I was telling her what I was reading, and she goes, "Why are you reading that?" And it was like, and I'm like, "What?" And it's like, "What do you mean? Why am I reading that?" And so to me, it seems like a strange conversation, because to set the story straight is, this is the first time to see this family member in like 10, 20 years. And this is the conversation that we had. Why are you reading that? And I was thinking, the cover story, made sense at the time. I was like, well, she's obviously is like, well, that doesn't seem like something, I'm interested in. So why are you, kind of attitude. But now I look at going, could that have been a handler moment where they're trying to get you to be like, you don't need this, so stop looking into this?
Yeah, it sounds like a handler moment, especially since it stuck with you so long. There was just something about that moment that stood out. It
Yeah.
wasn't, a normal, it just felt like control, like someone had been controlling you and you were out of control. Like
Yeah.
reading that book, like you're out of control.
Right.
Oh,
And
wow.
and
Yeah,
so
I used to see a reptilian overlay. Yeah, that's really interesting. Unknowingly handling each other. Well, we do have influence over each other. We definitely affect each other. The
yeah.
handlers specifically in a negative way.
Yeah, but I mean, it would kind of make sense because, like, I don't have, the ability of saying I see the same vehicles all the time, or I see this all the time and I know they're watching me,
Yeah.
but I can feel, being watched. There's a lot of times I'll be walking and I'll just be like, I start looking around because I'm like, someone's watching me. And that's an odd feeling to get, even in your own home,
Mm-hmm.
when you're the only one there going, someone's watching me. Where, what's going on? But nothing is out of the ordinary that a handler can be dropped in to someone, borrowed, and then pop out. Kind of like, a way of describing it would be like the agents in the Matrix movies,
Yeah.
where you're doing your thing and all of a sudden you're an agent, and then they're like, nope, now you're back to your old self.
I was talking to someone on Facebook. She was saying they literally drop in like through portals, like into her life, in and out. I don't necessarily have that. Like I used to have like demonic attacks. And I don't even know if I would call those handlers. Those are like Satanism is a byproduct of our handlers. Like they will use
Yeah.
Satanism and demons and curses. And I've had all that. A lot of mine now is like gang stalking. They're trying to sabotage, like I'm moving now. It's like a landmine of sabotage. I've got to get around, they'll sabotage a certain house I'm trying to get. I had a very important check coming, like a donation, and they knew it was coming. And so I got it at night after the regular mail had been delivered. It had been unsealed and just kind of a little bit sealed back. There was no postmark. So basically I went out and I got this, like, large check. They don't take stuff that way. They just want me to know they had it in their hands. They opened it. Um, and then I tried to cash the check. So they want me to know that they just dropped this in my mailbox after the postman. So then I try to cash it, and I get a notice from my bank that we have reason to believe that this check might not clear. So you can't use it for 12 days. Like it wasn't even like a regular, the bank will say something really specific. And this one
Right.
said, we have reason to believe. It was just so weird. So that's the kind of gang stalking that and they eventually, and so I called the person who had sent me the check. He goes, no, that went through right away. And so they held it and sent me a letter and said they have sources out there, like maybe ETs, to tell them and then it was signed US Bank, not even a person. It's like, this is the kind of gang sucking, like making everything as difficult as possible. And I'm laughing because that's what, like, I've been going through this for so long. Like, I have to laugh. Like, this, I mean, there is tears, like, if it gets too bad, but I'm mostly
Right.
dealing with the CIA kind of gang stalking, not as much the demons anymore. I mean, the literal demons, they're kind of their own form of demon, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I didn't even think about it, but there are days where I'll have like a stack of say 5 letters, and one will be open, like the
Yeah.
flap is open,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, and I'll look at the mailman because I usually get it directly from him, so it's like I don't even let it go to the box, and he'll be like, well, the glue must have came off on that one. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. I know.
But
Because
now it's like I have to wonder, because it doesn't look like it's been torn open. And so it's like
and I said to my friend, I said, I just barely like close this really big check, and I knew he did. And he goes, no, I like really sealed that. I'm like, yeah, it was opened and they messed with it and they didn't even put it through the stamp. There's no stamp. And so yeah, it never do it to the bills. They just know when I'm getting something important. Yes. Oh, we
so
just
that's
locked up and
interesting
the
that
intro started again.
Terry is saying that the show restarted for her. And now we're having uh it looks like Jane, there she is. Jane disappeared for a second. And
It was a 20 and back.
but there
All the
isn't.
US back part. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
all the bank, they're all like, I don't know if there's any.
And there was an interesting question, Terry
A
was
link
asking, getting watching, are you being watched
landlord.
through the phone or TV? Yes, I'm aware of that. And no, this was in areas of the house where there is no cell phone or there is no TVs. And it's like, I know that I'm, being watched, but there's nothing here to watch me. And so that's the awkward moments. And I did one day see a drone just hovering between my house and the neighbor's house, watching, and it was at the perfect height to just see over the fence
Oh yeah.
what's going on. And so
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, they do watch, and sometimes they're really obvious, and sometimes they're not. But Poppy's saying it's working for her.
Okay, good.
Terry's asking, watched by entities from a frequency we can't see.
That could be it too.
Yeah,
That could be
and,
it. That
and so
you're being watched from a different frequency. Like, I've seen Dracos watching me from another zone. That was really freaky. I could see them in my chimney like Santa Claus, except for they were Dracos they were on another dimension. And
eh,
so you could be being watched. She's right.
so I have an interesting experience that actually came through my twin, and I happen to have rapport with my twin, and uh, I'll just share a part of the story that is interesting, and I'm curious your take on it, is she was being watched and was being, like about to be attacked, and I got wind of it and intercepted and utilized altars to drop the assassination team and like
Wow.
return to source, them back. And we saw this building, and she said, I saw this building, and we're like, yeah, the building that they were using. And so it's like we use psionics on the astral to take it down. And she said I think it was like the next day or two, she's driving to somewhere, and she looks and says, wait, the building that was there is gone. It actually burned down. And so it was like interesting, and we were
Uh-huh.
like, interesting that it's the location exactly where we saw it and took care of it, but to see it in reality being taken care of, I was like, it had me wondering in the back of my mind, going, did we really do that, or
I bet you did.
did something else happen and we just
So
coincidentally?
I don't think, like, what happens is you're destroying it on the spiritual level, the idea that created it. So it could have been a fire, it could have been something, but you created this, you eliminated the spiritual aspect of it. And so whatever came in, that was what you did ultimately. I would say you did it. Yeah.
Yeah, and Christy, she's seen me enter like in my wolf, or not wolf, but lion altar. And I always will tell people, if I'm around and, I I hear or sense you need help, I will pop in, and I love to make grand entrances, as I call them, because I'm like, I'm sitting here thinking, these, beings are most likely humans, and what's the one thing humans are freaked out by is the unexpected. So I will either, like, if it's a cave, come through the ground and like do like a Superman or Neo landing, where you hit one knee and then just stand up and kind of be like, what's going on? And just know that the other side is like looking at this and going, where the hell did that guy come from? And how the hell is he able to stand up and act like nothing happened? And then I'll turn and I'll look at him, and, I'll use psionics to do what I need to do to help. Or the other one that I like to do is, if like I see a group of like soldiers are charging, and I'm like, well, I don't have time to go through the ground. I'll just appear right in front of the running soldiers and put my hand out and be like, bye bye,
Have you
and
done that?
yeah, and psionically remove them to
Wow.
another dimension.
You've
And I'm
done it
like,
on the earth now in this body? Or do you
no,
use
well,
the
I've done it on
altar?
astral.
What's that?
And I've done it in altar form on the astral, not in
Okay,
the
yeah.
physical.
Okay.
But I love making like those
It's
kind
very
of,
powerful. It's
yeah,
very, because as above, so below. Like you saw what happened to that building.
yeah.
There's
But
a chapter in my book about where I do that to rescue my children. I like burn a house down, like tear a house down, tear apart, and it happened the next night. Like I did it on the astral first, and then it happened on the next day on the real. So we
you
can
know,
do it.
it's interesting you point that out, because there's a story that it was really kind of, my family, we would laugh about it because it was when all five of us were together. We had went to this restaurant on a road trip, and the food was horrible in our experience. Service was bad. Yeah, we all were like, we're not food snobs or anything, but we were like, man, God would do a service if he removed that restaurant. We found out when we pulled into the hotel and turned the news on, after we had left and like the restaurant had closed, it got leveled by a tornado. And I was like, and so I made the joke like, oh, restaurants, you better be careful when we come in force, and eat at your place
Yeah,
because
it
you
could
may
have been
not.
the collective energy of all of you.
Yeah,
I want
but
to learn that. Yeah.
yeah, I just, I feel like, a lot of things that we do and operate now that we are aware of each other. We don't have to operate alone now.
I know it. We
But
have so much power together. It's just we're
there
such
is,
lone wolves. We just don't. We're just too scared of people or something.
yeah, but I also feel like, just by making those like grand entrances, it's like a lot of times what was going to happen or, what, they're wanting to happen when they see that are like, yep, we lost, we're done. Let's call it a day, fight another day, as they say, and will leave a lot of times too. They don't always engage.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, we can make ourselves appear in such a way that it's like, whoa.
It's like a
And
sign, a big sign, like God, like yeah,
yeah,
some
like,
metaphysical being just interfered or something.
yeah,
It
or
seems,
the proverbial, oh shit, that guy's here, we need to get the hell out of here kind of motif. But yeah, and I feel like everybody can do that. It's just a lot of people aren't aware. And I wonder if at
probably
times
yeah.
if it's programming, that's bled through that's why I'm able to do those kind of entrances and do all of that is yeah, part of it could be star seed, energy and all of that, but I feel like
Source.
knowing where to go and how, read the entrance and read, what's needed, I
Yeah.
feel it comes from programming because I don't know about you, but when I was like a teenager or a preteen, there were times that I would go into a room and I would be like, okay, training scenario 5 activated. And it's like I'm imagining, okay, there are people that are targeting me or, getting ready to attack me. And, I got to drop them before they drop me. And where are they? I got to sense where they're at and do all that. And so it's like I was doing this kind of training, but I never really understood where and why I was doing that kind of training.
Yeah. It was just in our subconscious.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just weird too
Hello.
that to go and say, hey, I need to do some training real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go activate this scenario.
Well, it's not weird once you understand where you've been and what you've done. Um,
True, but I'm just wondering, if that's, something you've, ever encountered to where you were like, oh, this memory is bleeding through and it's like, oh, maybe, yeah, that'll help me relax. And so you start doing stuff and you're like, why am I imagining this happening?
yeah.
This doesn't make sense, but it does.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly had lots of situations where I imagined a battle, and I imagined how I would battle and how I would defeat people, like just people in a room or, what weapons I would use. And I didn't know if that was my imagination as a writer or I was just always getting prepared for battle. And yeah, I'm constantly having like battle images, um shape shifting, and I think maybe my hands becoming weapons. And I didn't like, sometimes I just thought I had this vivid imagination, but now I think it's something I probably lived through.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's the other thing too that is so trippy about being in the SSP is we have memories that can come from multiple sources, and there's no way that we can go, oh, this is definitely program, or this is definitely from this. It's everything gets so intermingled. It's like, to me, it's almost like near impossible to take memories and say, oh, yeah, this is program memory. This is, soul astral work memory. This is past life memory. Oh, this is, memory from watching TV. Because they all almost seem so alike that it's like, I don't know.
yeah, it's a feeling, a deep down feeling for me, whether I'm, oftentimes when I'm disassociating, it's programming. Like, I don't want to do, I'll be in a situation and I'm suddenly not there. I'm leaving it, mentally. I know that's programming. Um, I do think I know my core self though. I feel like I know my soul essence. Um, I do have like some pretty violent thoughts, and I think that comes from SSP.
Yeah.
Um,
I think for me, it's I don't I don't want to claim something and then find out it's wrong and then be
yeah,
like lose all credibility. So I'll be like extra
yeah,
like hard on my memories to going. No,
yeah,
I'm not claiming this memory because
yeah.
I don't want to be wrong about it.
I have to feel and know it through. Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of the truth comes through the heart and the soul more than the head, because the head can be very easily manipulated. So, especially the soul, because the heart is emotion, so emotion can be manipulated, but the deep down soul can't. It's the quietest part of us. Unfortunately, it's the one that's the deepest, quietest aspect of our personalities. But
Right. And one thing I noticed that a lot of people don't talk about, and I feel like kind of gets over missed, is like positives that come
mm,
from being in the SSP. And even Tony Rodriguez, when I asked him about it, he's like, yes, thank you for asking, because it's not always trauma, it's not
mhm.
always bad. There are good things that happen. And an example that I'll share with everyone is, going to the gym now. There are times where I will be pushing weights and I'm like, God, this is like too much pressure on my body. I can just feel it. And I'll go, wait a minute. I did zero G training and I will put my body into the energy of zero G. And I was like, I can
Oh yeah.
do some more of the exercises and get the, number of reps that they're wanting. And I don't know that many people could probably understand how to do that safely. But that's one positive that I've noticed is,
Mm.
you have that, the body has that memory and can activate that memory. So I'm curious with you, Jane, are there any positives that you
Yeah,
think of?
it sort of helped my self-esteem, like, because if you were taken into those special programs, you were very talented and you were very unique and you had special skills. And so while the aftercare program continually traumatizes you, make you feel belittled, it's because they know how powerful you are. So recognizing I was SSP really enhanced my self-esteem. I started to feel special. I started not better than, but just like, okay, maybe I'm not this terrible person I think I am, and powerless. And no, they took me because I had power. So it helped to like reaffirm my soul essence. Like that's what they were after because it was unique and powerful. So in that sense, it's enhanced my self respect, that I, got chosen for some of these roles, even though, I don't think I want to be a spy in my normal reality or a honeypot or anything like that. I did telepathically operate UFOs, and I was used as a navigator, so I had a lot of skill. So in that sense, yeah, and then I kind of build on that, like you're saying, like I can do this stuff. I can remote view, and if the military picked me, I've got to have. So yeah, I think in a way it enhanced most of my skills when I like you're saying, I said, I've done this before. I can do it. If I can telepathically operate a UFO, I can do a remote view. So yeah, I think in that way it was, learning I was SSP was positive.
And another aspect is, growing up, I would always, for a while when I was in elementary school, I would be like, if I was chewing gum and or had saliva in my mouth and I was like, I wanted to spit it out, I wouldn't spit it out because my mind was telling me anything I spit out, someone's going to come up behind you, grab it, and use it because it has your DNA.
Oh my God, yes. I go
And
like I was just looking in my makeup bag and there's a big wad of hair. I'm like, every time I cut my hair, I will not leave it. Like I ball it up and put it because I feel like they're and I like burn it and I'm like, I've got all these places and I'm like, Jane, you're making it too easy for them to get it by like, making it putting it in a drawer and in my makeup rather than just taking care of it. But I go through the same thing, like
yeah,
they're after your DNA. And so I don't go to hair, I cut my own hair and then I keep it. And so, because yeah, it's not paranoid, like they want our DNA.
yeah. Well, I've kind of gotten lax on it because I'm like,
Yeah.
I take the mindset they already got it. So,
Oh,
let's
Poppy
split
too.
difference.
Poppy, do you
But,
like hold on to your hair and everything? And
well, and here's another thing. It's like, I hated going to doctors
oh God,
because if I had a cold, I was like, I'm not going to the doctor for this cold because I don't want them experimenting on me, is
yeah,
what
yeah,
my thought was. And I was
yeah.
like, little did I know that already happened. But,
And
and
dentists,
that's,
I'm terrified of dentists.
yeah. And
Just
so
terrified.
to me, the positive is, all these little nuances that we thought made us really weird and like
Yeah,
isolated from people, knowing being in the programs, that's where these come from, and
yeah,
we're bleed throughs. It's like I feel more like, okay, I'm okay with who I am. I can
yeah,
accept who I am because
yeah.
it's
That's
because
how I
of
felt
this.
too. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't just a weirdo, like outcast, black sheep, wolf in the woods.
Yeah,
I leave them with nature. Oh, cool,
fingernails.
Poppy. She's given us a solution. I'm going to throw my hair out into the wind, and I don't know what you're going to do with your gum. You better not do that because a bird will eat it, and then they'll become a super soldier or something.
Oh no, I don't chew gum much anymore.
Yeah, I know. I love who. Oh, thank you, Poppy. I
Oh,
love you
thank
too.
you.
She's like the sweetest human being I've ever
Yeah.
met, Poppy.
And I will say, coming from the paranormal community into the disclosure or SSP or even into the SSP community, as much isolating and sectionalism that you find in it, and yes, I did say the word sectionalism because that is what it is, and
I've
I
never
don't
heard
know
of that,
where
but
that
I think it must work for something. I really
I know.
sexualism.
I was
Cool.
like, as I said it, I was like, what the hell is that? Where did that come from?
It's a
But
great word.
yeah,
I'm going to use it now in my next
but
book.
go
What does
ahead.
it
And
mean, Michael? Tell me what it means first.
to me, it means they keep us sectioned off to
Okay,
where like
sectionalism.
super soldiers talk with super soldiers. people with memory talk with people with memory.
Yeah,
People who, don't have memory or can't, connect with this or that are kind of isolated out.
that's kind of
And,
true. Like I'm not in the inner clique. I'm on the outer clique.
yeah. And so I feel
Yes,
like, though, more lately, as you talking about this, like, for example, the chat room tonight, they are engaging with us and they're talking with us and,
I love that.
supporting us. And it's not the, oh, you're not this because you don't have this or that
It's
kind of
ridiculous.
that happens. And so I'm really liking, the new SSP community that's coming in, that's like, yes, we're going to support each other and keep each
Yeah,
other, up, because we've gone through the isolating and everything. We don't need it here. And so,
yeah, that's true too. I mean, there's an element of that with me too. It's like, oh, what the F?
yeah,
I like take, bring it on. You know what I mean? I have that paranoia with my hair, but you're also like sipping tea all over the place and everything else. So I'm not paranoid about it, but I do have with my hair. I like ball, like a little, yeah. So I get it, wizard. Yeah,
well,
in
and
fact, yeah, I like got this thing with Christy was telling me that the Pleiadians, if you offer them some of their DNA, they'll give you shots of upgrade DNA of theirs. So I think I've been doing that too. So I like offering my DNA in exchange for some of theirs.
and one thing I just thought about that, we can do, because everything is done by intention, is going to a restaurant, or,
Yeah,
going somewhere and interacting, any place you feel like you may have left a DNA sample and you're like, no, I don't feel comfortable with it being there. What if we took and visualized that sample and like torching it and burn it
yeah,
up, or soak
yeah,
it in water, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, this is no longer viable.
yeah.
So when they go and
I gotta
use
say
it,
one more thing. I'm so glad we brought this up because I was feeling like really paranoid. I had a yard sale lately, and I went through everything that I thought might have my DNA in it, and I took it out of the yard sale, like a sweater. Like, oh, I wore this constantly. I can't put that in. And I'm about to sell a couch. This like has pillows on it that I constantly have my head on. Like, I was thinking about like getting a spray ball and spraying it with bleach on the pillows. So it's
yeah,
like I felt like saying to like on my yard sale thing, on Marketplace, and just for so my gang stalkers know, there's nothing in the yard sale with my DNA on it, so don't get excited. So I'm
man.
glad we brought it up. I thought I was the only one that did that.
No, I am very cautious of it too, and I even get wary about like donating clothes, because I'm like, I
It's
will wash it and then I'm like, okay, now I can donate it, feeling a little bit better, but it's like,
yeah,
yeah, there's
me
still
too.
that.
That's so interesting. I just didn't know anybody else did that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I know we're getting close to the hour and a half mark,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I was curious about one question for you, because I feel like your knowledge and background, and Wizard Wickus, you can chime in about this too, that I've wondered is, so like, I'm SSP,
Hmm.
and if I donate like a kidney, or, donate blood, does the person who receives that have access to the SSP part of life, or does it become nullified once it leaves the body and all traces erased?
I would think that that person would take on some of your qualities. I know that happens with organ transplants. like if you have someone's kidney or something, you start to have their memories. And we don't want to get into organs right now, but I would say that they would take on some of your quality. I can't stand blood transfusion, any of that. I don't donate. I hope to God I never have to get it. But I know with kidneys, yeah, the memories in your cells. Yes, you can. Yeah. So if you get somebody's kidney, you can start having their memories. So I would say the same. I don't know if they'll get your SSP skills, but they're going to get some part of you. So
Because
weird how we get all this blood stuff going on.
I know, and I'll leave you with this one interesting fact: is my blood type does not exist on any records.
I don't think mine does either. I don't even know what it is.
I don't either, and
You don't
what
know yours either?
I
Okay.
I
I'm
had
not
a
the only one.
surgery. I had a surgery a few years ago, and I called up and I said to the surgeons, I was like, "Hey, it doesn't say what my blood type was. Can you tell me?"
They
And she
won't tell you.
goes, "Oh, we looked through all the notes and we never wrote it down. We never documented it." And I was like, that to me was suspicious.
Very, very. They know. They just don't want us to know. Years ago, I used to do just doing my favorite name being a rare blood type. Yeah, they don't want us
Yeah.
to know what our blood type is. So weird. You can't. You have to get like a doctor to sign for the blood. They'll give you all kinds of blood tests if you want. Because they want to get you on prescription drugs. Hopefully, you'll have high cholesterol and high every. But if you ask for your blood type, oh no, 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 we can't do that. Nope. You have to like spend $500 and go. No, you can't have your blood type.
Yeah. I actually had blood work done and I took it to my chiropractor who's a retired doctor, a medical doctor, and has another, colorful history of his past. But that aside, he knows me enough that he's like, your blood work is perfect. He's like, no, he tries to get blood work like I have and can't get it. And no, he's never seen anyone with like such great blood work.
What does
And
that mean, great blood? Like you're like free of every negative thing?
like,
Is that what it means?
yeah,
Oh,
like all the
perfect
signs of
everything.
being like,
Perfect, perfect everything.
like being overweight, he's like, this should be high, but in you it's not. And
Huh.
this should be low, but your everything on you is right where it needs to be. And so the last time I was with him, I said, I want to test. And he tested my body and it goes, is the blood work perfect because of my work with the SSP? And the body goes, yes. And so
That
I was like,
is so interesting.
yeah. And so I was like, well, I guess as long as I'm of use to them, they're going to keep me in tip top shape.
That is so interesting. That's the doctors don't like that though because they want you to have high cholesterol and high blood pressure. They
Yeah.
like can't wait to get those blood results. I remember my last doctor I went to like 2 years ago. Like he got the blood work back and I could tell he was so disappointed I didn't have high cholesterol. I could like his tone was because he wanted to get me on statins and I was just like, oh no, what the hell am I doing here? So weird.
Yeah.
Had DNA added a couple times in vitro from some. Okay, I don't know what
Yeah.
that's like.
Yeah. And well, I think, we are a little bit over the hour and a half
Yeah,
mark.
okay.
And so I feel like, we could keep going, but that's the joys of being podcast host is, we can have you back again and continue on and talk more about this on another episode. And I have to say, as always, Jane, it is fascinating talking with you. And I learned so much
Oh,
from
good.
you as well. And I love the conversation where it
Yeah,
goes through.
it was so much fun, and I was so happy to hear about your chewing gum because then I realized I wasn't alone in my DNA. My
Right.
DNA, what was it, confiscating or whatever you want to call it. Thank you, Poppy, for being here. You're so sweet.
Yes. Thank you
Everyone
to
else.
everybody. And again, I'm going to share this message with you, Jane. I know I probably did it on the first episode, but it's still true today. And that is from my heart and the heart of my shows to you. Thank you for what you're doing for humanity. It's seen, felt, heard, and so appreciated, you being you.
Thank you so much, Michael. That was the sweetest thing. I almost felt like I was a little girl watching Mr. Rogers. You know, he used to get like so those sweet things at the end of the show.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Mr.
As the
Thank you.
train came rolling in.
Yeah, you need the train in the background. Thank you. That was very, very sweet. Thank you so much. We need that. All right. Bye guys. Love you,
Yes,
Poppy, and everyone.
yes, and normally I would give you a chance to share, where to get your book and everything, but I will say, there's a little bit of work being done around that with Jane and her book, so
Yeah.
we're gonna hold off until we get that figured
Yeah,
out
and I think
before.
everybody that's watching has already subscribed to my YouTube and Substack. But that would be great too. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, it's Explore the Unknown with Jane Celia Hatch. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, and
I love your intro. I have a new intro too, so you guys will have to check it out. It's not as it's maybe not quite as cool as Michael's, but it's pretty cool.
well, in defense, mine is cool because it comes from my cousin, and he has no idea about what we talk about. I just tell him, like,
Yeah.
like for example, this season we have the body on a bed, and there's like screens scanning everything, and
Yeah, I
it was
saw
the
that.
closest image I could get to a med bed, and I was like, yeah, that looks like what a med bed might look like. So yeah, can we use that? And he's like, yeah, and put it in. But I don't think he really knows what that means and what that is. And so it's
Yeah.
really cool how he puts that all together and is like, wow. So
Yeah, I have a young girl in England. She's a targeted individual, and she did my intro, and she pretty much knows everything about it, but I'm very techno unsavvy, so I was really grateful for her help.
well, then I say we all need to go and check out Jane's, latest shows and her keep up with the new shows and
Thank you.
comment about the intro and
Yeah. Okay. Good night.
so good night everyone, have blessings to you all,
Yeah,
and we'll see you all in the next episode. And again, thank you so much for coming on, Jane.
you're welcome. It was so much fun. Thank you. How do I get
And
off? I'm so tired. How do I turn it off?
there's a little red button or orange button with an arrow pointing right
Okay.
across.
All right.
All right,
Good night.
good night everyone.